I'm Ryan with Fielding Tree Care, and I'm one of our certified arborists on staff, and I'm here to talk to you today about the Concolor Fir, or White Fir as some folks call them. So we have AB's Concolor, which is nice. The Concolor is right in the scientific name, so it's a little bit easier to remember the Latin on that one. But yeah, a really great urban species. I really love the color of the foliage in general on this species. It's kind of this grayish green color, so it's a little bit different than the typical just in your face solid or bright green depending on the species. So it's got kind of a gentler look to it, which is also consistent with how the needles feel. So they're really soft. One of the hallmarks of fir species is that they will typically have flat needles as compared to pines or spruces, which have either angled or rounded needles. So we have these flat needles, and if you look really closely at where they're attached to the branchlets or the stem, they have almost this little suction cup attachment, which is a great ID characteristic to at least get you to a fir species. Compared to pines, which we looked at previously, they have needles that are attached singly to the branches, so they're not in bundles, they're just single attachment. So flat needles that are singly attached that have this kind of grayish green coloration to them. And probably my favorite characteristic of concolor firs is that if you pick a needle off of it, crush it in your fingers, and smell it, it smells kind of like this really pungent orange smell. I used to have a professor that said it smells like Christmas. So if you find a concolor fir, please pluck a needle. If it's your fir, if it's on private property, certainly don't trespass to get there. But if you have a concolor fir or have a friend that has one, pluck a needle. Just give it a little bit of a crush in your fingers and smell it. As far as bark characteristics for this species, a little hard to see, especially since on these large mature trees, the branches go all the way to the ground. So not super useful in terms of figuring out what species this is, but close examination of the branches and the needles will get you pretty close. This tree species in particular can be a little bit more sensitive. I usually recommend planting it in less exposed locations, especially since it's so dry out here. It is actually native to Colorado, certainly not the environment that we have out here on the plains, but typically you can find them in more shaded canyon areas, a little bit more protected. But it's a pretty good urban tree, very large stature shade tree. As far as pest and disease issues for the concolor fir, there are a couple of scale species that do affect the needles. But their biggest thing is just environmental sensitivity. In some planting scenarios where maybe they're not getting enough water, or they have limited soil space for the root system to grow, I have seen them kind of decline over a number of years. The needles kind of thin out, the branches thin out, and eventually they're candidates for removal. Typically, the pests that we see on this species go after stressed individuals first, which is more or less true of any tree species. Stressed individuals are going to be more susceptible to pests and disease. But with concolor fir, in Colorado at least, the stressed individuals are much more susceptible to the fir engraver, which we very infrequently see across the Denver metro, but we have encountered it from time to time. There are a number of other bark beetle species that'll go after the concolor fir. But overall, again, it's a pretty good choice for an urban tree species. It has that slightly different coloration than a lot of your other evergreens, so it's a nice little kind of softer tone depending on the location that you're going to plant it on your property. But that's the concolor fir. So thanks for watching, and follow us on social media.